I will not waste your time with long introductions. If you have come here, it is probably because you want to know one simple thing: how someone can live long enough to watch almost an entire century pass by and still wake up in the morning with a clear mind and a steady step. I am 96 years old. I have watched the world change in ways my younger self could never have imagined. I have seen technologies appear that once sounded like science fiction. I have watched cities grow, industries rise and fall, and entire generations redefine what they believe health and happiness should look like. But the truth about longevity is much simpler than most people think. People often assume that reaching old age must be the result of luck, rare genetics, or expensive medical care. Many believe that only extraordinary people reach 90, 100, or beyond. Yet after nearly a century of living, I have come to see something very different. Longevity is rarely the result of one dramatic decision. It is the quiet accumulation of small habits repeated for decades: the way you move your body every day, the way you eat when no one is watching, the way you handle worry, anger, and disappointment, the way you rest, breathe, and wake up the next morning ready to begin again. None of these things seem extraordinary on their own, but over time they shape the body, the mind, and the course of an entire life. I did not discover these lessons in a laboratory or a medical textbook. I discovered them through living, through mistakes, adjustments, and long years of paying attention to what helped my body stay strong and what slowly weakened it. So today, I want to share the habits that quietly carried me through 96 years. Not theories, not promises, just the simple practices that over a lifetime made longevity possible. If you listen carefully, you may recognize that the secrets are not hidden at all. They have been quietly waiting in the ordinary rhythms of daily life. If there is one thing I learned early in life, it is that the body remembers what you do to it every day. It remembers the food you give it, the movement you allow it, the rest you offer it, and even the thoughts you repeat in your mind. These things accumulate quietly. They build strength, or they slowly take it away. When I was young, people did not talk about longevity the way they do today. There were no endless books about anti-aging or complicated routines promising to add years to your life. Most people simply lived their lives. Yet many of the elders I knew when I was a child lived well into their 80s and 90s, and they did so without the constant anxiety about health that seems common today. Looking back, I realized something important. Their lives were structured around habits that naturally protected the body. The first of these habits was movement. I did not grow up exercising in the modern sense. There were no gyms, no fitness trackers, no carefully designed workout programs, but movement was built into daily life. People walked to places instead of driving. They carried groceries, worked in gardens, repaired things with their hands, and spent far less time sitting still. For most of my life, I followed the same rhythm. I walked nearly every day. Sometimes it was only 15 or 20 minutes. Sometimes it was much longer. The purpose was never competition or athletic performance. The purpose was simply to keep the body active. Movement, I learned, is not about intensity. It is about consistency. The body thrives on regular motion. When muscles are used, blood circulates more efficiently, joints remain flexible, the lungs expand more fully. Even the mind seems to become clearer after a simple walk. On the days when I skipped movement, I noticed something immediately. My body felt heavier, my energy declined, my thoughts became duller. It was as if the body had been designed to expect motion, and when motion disappeared, something inside it began to slow. So I kept moving. Not aggressively, not obsessively, just regularly. The second habit that shaped my life was how I approached food. Over the years, people have invented many different diets. Each one promises to be the correct answer to health and longevity. Yet when I think about the way I ate for most of my life, it was remarkably simple. I ate food that looked like food. Vegetables, fruits, grains, beans, potatoes, bread, soups, and simple meals prepared at home. Meat was present sometimes, but rarely in large portions. Most meals were modest and uncomplicated. More importantly, I rarely ate until I felt heavy or overly full. There is a quiet wisdom in stopping before the body becomes uncomfortable. When you leave the table feeling satisfied but not burdened, the body seems to process food more efficiently. I noticed that overeating always came with consequences. It slowed digestion. It made sleep less restful. It created a heaviness that lingered for hours. So over time I learned to respect the body's signals. Eat when you are hungry. Stop when you are satisfied. Let the body do the rest. The third habit that quietly shaped my longevity was sleep. This is something people underestimate. In a world that moves quickly and values constant productivity, sleep is often treated as an inconvenience, yet the body repairs itself during rest. Muscles recover, the brain processes memories, hormones rebalance. For most of my life, I maintained a simple rule. I went to bed at roughly the same time each night. I woke up at roughly the same time each morning. This rhythm allowed the body to establish a natural cycle. Over time, I noticed that when my sleep schedule remained consistent, my energy during the day became far more stable. But sleep is not only about hours, it is also about peace of mind. A restless mind produces restless sleep. Worry, anger, and unresolved thoughts can follow you into the night. When the mind refuses to settle, the body cannot fully rest. So I developed another quiet habit. Before sleeping, I let go of the day. I stopped reviewing mistakes, arguments, or frustrations. Whatever problems remained would still exist in the morning. Carrying them into sleep only stole rest from the present moment. Over time, this small practice made a remarkable difference. The fourth habit that sustained my health had less to do with the body and more to do with the mind. Stress is one of the most powerful forces affecting longevity, yet it is rarely discussed in practical terms. Throughout my life, I observed two kinds of people. Some reacted to every difficulty with intense worry. Others approached challenges calmly, solving what they could and accepting what they could not control. The second group almost always aged better. This does not mean they had easier lives. In fact, many of them faced tremendous hardship, but they did not allow stress to dominate their thoughts day after day. I learned to follow a similar approach. When problems appeared, and they always do, I asked myself a simple question: can I do something about this today? If the answer was yes, I took action. If the answer was no, I allowed the situation to rest until action became possible. This habit protected the mind from constant tension, and when the mind remains calm, the body benefits. Finally, there was one habit that many people overlook when discussing longevity: connection. Humans were not designed to live isolated lives. Throughout the decades, the people who seemed to age the most gracefully were those who remained connected to family, friends, neighbors, and community. Conversation stimulates the mind. Laughter relaxes the body. Shared experiences give meaning to passing time. I have always tried to maintain relationships even when life became busy or difficult. A simple conversation over a meal, a walk with a friend, or a visit with family can do more for the human spirit than many people realize. Longevity, in my experience, is not built from one dramatic secret. It is built from small decisions repeated quietly across thousands of ordinary days, and the body remembers every one of them. If you live long enough, you begin to see something that younger people rarely notice. Time does not pass in large dramatic moments. It passes quietly in ordinary days that seem almost identical to one another. Yet those ordinary days shape the entire arc of a life. When people ask how someone can reach 90 or 100 years of age, they often imagine that the answer must involve something extraordinary: a rare supplement, a perfect diet, a secret routine known only to a few. But when I look back over my 96 years, the truth appears much simpler. Longevity grows out of the rhythm of daily life. One of the most important lessons I learned is that the body does not respond well to extremes. Whenever people push their bodies too hard in one direction, whether it is extreme dieting, excessive exercise, or constant stress, the body eventually pushes back. Balance, on the other hand, allows the body to sustain itself for decades. I have seen people become obsessed with health to the point that it becomes a source of anxiety. Every meal is examined with fear. Every minor ache is interpreted as a serious problem. Ironically, this constant tension can become more harmful than the habits they are trying to correct. Health should support life, not dominate it. For most of my life, I approached health with a very simple principle: care for the body consistently, but do not become controlled by it. Eat well most of the time, move regularly, sleep properly, and then live your life. There were many occasions when I shared meals with friends that were not perfectly balanced. There were days when work or travel disrupted my usual routines, yet these moments did not define my health. What mattered was the pattern that returned the next day. Consistency over decades always matters more than perfection in a single moment. Another important lesson I discovered involves the pace of life. When I was young, life moved at a different rhythm. People worked hard, certainly, But there were also natural pauses built into daily routines. Evenings were quieter, meals were slower, conversations lasted longer. Today, many people move through life as if they are constantly being chased by time. Meals are rushed, sleep is shortened, work extends late into the night, and the mind rarely receives a moment of stillness. The body was never designed to operate under constant urgency. When stress becomes the permanent background of daily life, it slowly erodes health in ways that are difficult to notice at first. I learned the value of slowing down long before it became fashionable advice. Taking time to walk rather than rush, sitting down to eat rather than standing with food in one hand, allowing moments of quiet during the day, instead of filling every minute with noise. These small pauses give the nervous system a chance to reset. The heart rate slows, breathing deepens, the mind regains clarity. Over many years, these quiet pauses accumulate into something powerful: resilience. Another factor that shaped my longevity was curiosity. Many people believe aging means gradually withdrawing from life. They imagine that once a person reaches a certain age, the mind should settle into familiar routines and avoid new experiences. But the mind thrives on stimulation. Throughout my life, I remained curious about the world. I read books, listened to new ideas, learned new skills, and paid attention to the changing society around me. Even in later years, I continued asking questions and exploring subjects that interested me. Curiosity keeps the mind flexible, it encourages learning, and learning keeps the brain active. I have met many people who seem to age rapidly after they stopped engaging with the world around them. Their routines became narrow. Their conversations repeated the same topics. Gradually, their sense of vitality faded. In contrast, those who remained mentally engaged often carried a youthful energy far into old age. Another habit that quietly strengthened my life was maintaining a sense of purpose. Purpose does not have to be grand or dramatic. It does not require global achievements or public recognition. Sometimes purpose is simply the feeling that your actions still matter to someone. For many years my purpose came from work. Later it came from family. Later still, it came from sharing knowledge and supporting younger generations. Each stage of life brought a different form of meaning. What mattered was never allowing life to feel empty. When people feel that they are no longer needed, something inside them begins to fade, motivation declines, energy disappears. Even physical health can weaken. But when a person wakes up with a reason to participate in the day, even a small reason, the body responds differently. Purpose creates momentum. Another truth I learned involves the acceptance of change. If you live long enough, your body will change. Strength that once felt effortless may require more care. Recovery from illness may take longer. Energy may rise and fall differently than it did in youth. Some people resist these changes with frustration. They compare their current abilities with the past and feel discouraged. I learned to approach aging differently. Instead of fighting every change, I adjusted my habits to support the body I had at that moment. When my joints became less tolerant of intense movement, I chose longer walks instead of harder exercise. When my digestion slowed slightly, I ate lighter meals. When sleep required more attention, I respected the body's need for rest. Adaptation is one of the most powerful tools for longevity. The body is remarkably capable of sustaining health when we cooperate with its signals instead of ignoring them. Perhaps the most surprising lesson of all is that longevity is rarely about dramatic breakthroughs. It is about patience. The habits that shape a long life are not exciting. They do not produce instant results. In fact, many of them feel so ordinary that people overlook their importance. But over decades, these ordinary habits accumulate quietly. A walk taken today, a balanced meal eaten tomorrow, a night of restful sleep, a calm response to a stressful situation, a meaningful conversation with someone you care about. Each of these moments seems small on its own, yet when repeated across thousands of days, they build a foundation strong enough to carry a person through nearly an entire century. And that is the real secret most people overlook. Longevity is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in the quiet discipline of everyday life. When people hear that someone has lived into their 90s, they often search for a dramatic explanation. They want a single secret that explains everything. One special food, one perfect routine, one discovery that guarantees a long life. After 96 years, I can tell you with complete honesty that such a single secret does not exist. Longevity is not the result of one decision. It is the result of thousands of small decisions made quietly across a lifetime. It is the decision to move your body even when you feel a little tired. It is the decision to choose simple, nourishing food instead of constant excess. It is the decision to rest when the body asks for sleep. It is the decision to release worry when it serves no purpose. And perhaps most importantly, it is the decision to remain connected to people, to curiosity, and to the simple experiences that make life meaningful. When these habits are repeated day after day, year after year, they slowly shape the body and the mind. The changes are so gradual that you rarely notice them in the moment, but decades later, their impact becomes unmistakable. I did not plan to live this long. I simply tried to live well, one ordinary day at a time. If there is anything my 96 years have taught me, it is that the body responds faithfully to the life you give it. Treat it with patience, respect its limits, and support it with consistent care. The results will not appear overnight, but over the years those quiet choices can carry you farther than you ever expected. And one morning, perhaps many decades from now, you may wake up and realize that the secrets of longevity were never truly hidden. They were simply waiting in the ordinary rhythm of daily life.